Hello, my lovely listeners. Thank you again for tuning into another episode of Leaders Lane. Today, I'm joined by Jane Langoff, a leading feng shui master, award-winning author of Feng Shui, A Homeowner's Guide to Abundance, and the founder of Feng Shui Concepts. For the past 17 years, Jane has blended traditional feng shui wisdom with contemporary design to create spaces that are not only beautiful, but supportive of well-being, prosperity, and harmony. Now, what I love most about her work is that she goes beyond the physical space. It also helps people feel more energized, focused, and aligned with their life so they can lead the life that they want to, which is something that Leaders Lane is huge about. Okay, so whether you know much about feng shui or not, let's jump into the episode and see how you can adopt it into your life. Jane, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. It's great to be here, Monica.
Yeah, we were just chatting before we started recording about how we connected, and a lot of my guests I find on LinkedIn, and you really jumped out. And I guess I grew up in a family where my parents did martial arts when we were younger, so we were introduced to different sort of methodologies and different wisdoms and things like that early on in life. So that's also why I was attracted to your business and what you had to say.
Amazing. Yeah, a lot of people find that they've got some sort of ties to that sort of culture, and they find feng shui quite fascinating. Even
Mm.
those who don't, because
Yeah.
if you have read my profile previously, this wasn't always what I did.
Yes, exactly. And so I'm very interested to jump into that. How did this journey into feng shui come about, and what were you doing before?
Well, I started my career as an accountant.
Mm,
And I had been doing that for many years, and I loved renovating and building and decorating. And my husband and I were redecorating and renovating our first home together. And I found myself really interested in interior design and all that sort of thing. And actually, as an accountant, I was financial controller at the time. I was thinking, wouldn't it be great to study interior design and sort of do a bit of a career change? And I entertained that idea for about 5 milliseconds because it wasn't possible in the corporate grind to be doing something like that on the side. So it had been something that I'd thought about in passing. And then I managed to leave the accounting job when I was pregnant with my first child, who's now 18. And at the time, I was thinking, a friend of mine suggested that I visit a psychic. So I was at a crossroads. And this psychic I was interested in because she picked up on all of this information about my friend whose mother had passed away. And I thought, and my dad died when I was 18. And I thought, oh, I'm interested to see what this spirit medium psychic would say about my dad. And so I went to see her, and what she said to me was life changing. She said to me, you need to finish the corporate career is over and you need to go and study interior design. And I thought, wow, amazing. This sounds really cool. Okay, I'm going to do it. So I just took the leap of faith and I did it. And I went and found a great design school, and halfway through the course, there was a break in the course because my cohort didn't want to continue for whatever reason. It was just too much workload. And frustrated, I went back to the psychic because I wanted to get it all done and start practicing. I was all gung ho about it. And she said to me, oh, don't worry about this break. Now you need to study feng shui and combine the two. And being business minded, I thought, you know what, that's a great idea. I think it'd be good to have a niche in interior design. And so I went and found the schools and people to study with. And let me tell you that once I opened those books, I knew that that was where I needed to be. And so instead of it being interior design with a bit of feng shui on the side, it ended up being feng shui practiced in a beautiful and practical way. So that's how I got into it. And the spirit medium has kind of been there in the background advising me. She's been a bit of a career advisor, which is quite, my husband finds quite hilarious.
mm,
And she's pushed me over the years to write this book. It's my book, Feng Shui Homeowner's Guide to Abundance. She's pushed me to take on certain projects that I never thought I'd be able to do. And it's just been quite surreal and amazing. She even said that I've got a spirit guide who is an ancient Chinese master that I can call upon his wisdom. And so it really helped me to believe that I could do this right at the start. And now I know that it's my purpose in life, and that the accounting journey was there as a way to kind of get me grounded and business minded and apply that knowledge to what I'm doing now, which my mission is just to spread the word on feng shui and its benefits to as many people as possible and to take it mainstream.
That's so beautiful. I'm curious. So, when you were making this transition, did you have any moments where you doubted yourself, or were you very sure, like, no, this is the direction I want to move in?
Did I doubt myself? I've had those moments of imposter syndrome. I get those all the time, which is
Mm,
normal.
yeah.
And that self-doubt. But in terms of what I should be doing, no. Once I made the decision, it was like, I'm going for it. I was very lucky in that I've been very lucky in that I've had a supportive family, with my mother to look after children while I was having a family, and also a husband who just lets me do what I want.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, which is really lucky. And it's actually my wedding anniversary today, 21 years. So I'm very grateful that I've had a partner who's been really super supportive of my career change.
Well, congratulations. 21 years is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay. And tell me, how did you grow your business? Because our audience, they are entrepreneurs and business owners, and many of them might be starting out and, transitioning like you did. And how did you then, once you did your studies, then grow that business? Was it purely because you had the accountant background behind you, so it was easier to do, or how did you go about it?
It definitely helps having that business background. I was an accountant working in commercial sort of business field for 15 years. So I was doing that for a long time and had an idea about, I was dealing with marketing departments. And so I had an idea about all that stuff. And that was really interesting to me as well. So I have a fascination with business. And so I love reading about it, listening to podcasts like yours and that sort of thing. So the way I started was I just found somebody to do a website for me. This is after I sort of did my, I was studying and practicing with friends and family to start with, but I set up a website and I learnt about SEO, Google optimization and all that sort of thing. And it was all just DIY stuff, just doing everything myself. And then I started getting work and I started writing articles, and that really helped. So I was writing articles and submitting them to online sources, magazines, and all of that sort of thing. And so I've very much built my profile around the publicity side in getting editorial, in speaking. So I found speaking was a really good way of getting the word out there as well, and just writing quality content that adds value.
I'm really interested and fascinated in that because I know that approach I think is excellent to building a business. And I guess that's also been my approach over the years. And when I was younger and as a 20-year-old, I had a magazine and I was doing similar things. And that was like before blogs and things existed. But there's a real power I find in that approach because it also brings you to the table. People get to connect with you more and it's not just the business. And I think in today's world, particularly, people are wanting to connect with the person behind the business. When everything's so automated, it's really nice. And I think feng shui as well has this beautiful, I don't know, like you said, even people that are not necessarily, maybe they don't know much about it or they're curious. Even for example, I downloaded your top 10 tips on your website last night and I was just reading through them and they're so interesting and so practical and things like you wouldn't necessarily think about on a day to day. So let's just now dive into feng shui. Can you explain what it is and how it affects our homes and our environments for people that might not know?
Yeah, so feng shui is the art of arranging your living and workspaces to create the optimal flow of energy. It's about your relationship with your environment and your surroundings and how the energy and the chi in your surroundings can impact you on a mental, physical, and spiritual level. So feng shui originated in China thousands of years ago, and ancient Chinese masters discovered that different patterns of energy affected the human body and mind. When people were aligned with positive energy, they experienced good fortune, whereas if they were aligned with negative energy, they experienced misfortune and obstacles. And over the thousands of years, through these observations came a defined set of guidelines, rules, mathematical systems that form the basis of traditional feng shui today. So feng shui is not actually based on superstition or religion, although a lot of people might associate it with that. Feng shui, because being a cultural practice, is sort of mixed up in that world of Chinese superstitions, but that is not the true essence of authentic feng shui. It's about it's about getting the flow of energy right throughout a building to support the occupants. So there's probably a bit of environmental psychology wrapped up in that too, and that's the way I practice it. So I want to make feng shui super practical. So there are certain principles that you want to follow and guidelines that are universal for every home or every space. But there are also an energy map. So every home, every building has an energy map that's like a horoscope that tells you where the positive and negative energy sectors are. Like, where's the wealth sector in your home? Where's the wealth sector in your business? Where's the best energy for harmony, health, and relationships for you to conduct, HR meetings, or where is the prosperous energy for you to conduct your sales if you're working from home and that sort of thing. So there's a science behind it. There's a tailored approach to it for people, but there's also general principles that everyone can follow. And there's also a lot of junk out there. There is also a lot of rubbish and out there in internet land that can make somebody's the energy in someone's home worse than what it was to start with. So
Wow. Okay.
there's a lot.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me. And actually, I love that you touched on the positive and negative spots. Was it those spots that you
Energy,
used?
yeah, it's like the energy
Yeah.
sectors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was, planning for our interview, I thought, how do you know, like, where there's a negative energy sector or something like that? Like, how do you determine that?
Yeah, so that's based on a few things: the age of the building, the floor plan, the data of the occupants, like their birth dates and so forth. So we can just get, and also just and the orientation of the building to the degree. So
Mhm.
all of these parameters of things come together in terms of formula. So we have feng shui formulas, and if you imagine your floor plan and you're over the top of your floor plan, you're putting a pie chart or a chart on top of it that's based on the directions of north, east, south, west, with the intermediate directions north, east, south, east, etc. And when we run these formulas, sometimes it can come up with a configuration of numbers that will tell me what the quality of energy is in a space, and then I'll read that to determine what feng shui remedies are required to harmonize that energy flow. And that could be doing ways like arrangement through the physical layout, and also through using the 5 elements that are used in Chinese metaphysics. And those 5 elements are fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. And each of those elements relates to a particular color, shape, and material. So it's not just about sort of hanging up the crystal or the wind chime, or sticking, the frog with the lucky golden toad in a particular corner. It's just, you can do it in a beautiful way. For example, if in a bedroom we need the metal element, I might advise a client to have some beautiful metallic lampstands with white circular shades, because circular objects represents the metal element. The color white also represents the metal element. So there are ways to do it in a tasteful way. And the way my clients get the most value is when we're applying feng shui at the time of building and renovating and the design stage. Not to say that you can't do something when a place is completed, because absolutely you can improve the quality of energy through arrangement and through the use of those 5 elements, and through the use of the spaces as well, like the functional, if you've got two rooms, other things being equal, can you use one room as a bedroom, one room as a study? Which one has a better energy profile for each? I don't know if I just answered your question then, or I just went off on a tangent.
No, I mean, I found it all really interesting as well because I can understand how, like, when you're creating a new property, you can adopt feng shui to, set that up for its best possible energetic vibrance or abundance and that sort of a thing. And then I guess when you were talking, I was thinking, I'm like, oh, I wonder what this space feels like. And I don't know if everyone's like this, but for me, since I was young, I feel like I can walk into different spaces and feel the energy of the space very easily. And I can very quickly like tell if something's not right. But I couldn't tell you why, but I can sense it very much. So that's why I'm interested in like how you're saying there's certain energy sectors and stuff. I thought, well, that makes sense because I've experienced that for myself. Is that what we're talking about as well? That sort of sense that you have when you're in a different space?
That's part of it too. So when we assess the energy in a space, and we do this on a subconscious level, you use your five senses. And so I do this when I'm assessing the energy in somebody's home or business premises. You use your five senses. So all of that sort of feeds into how you feel about the space. And things like practical things like the path of the sun is so important in your ability to bring natural light. Like where your windows are, what sort of breezes are coming through the space will affect the quality of energy. The trees that are around you, how much shade is, whether a room feels like the energy is stagnant because you've got a big tree outside your window blocking the light and the wind, or letting bugs come into the room. Dust, if you don't clean the space, that causes stagnant energy too.
Well, this is so interesting. I never really thought about dust. Like, I mean, I'm someone that's very tidy and I like my space to be clean just for my own mental clarity.
Yes.
But I never even thought about how dust impacts the energy in a space.
Yeah, absolutely. Dust, animal hair as well.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So, if is there sort of like I know you go into people's homes, for example, and you will assess the space, and every space is different. But are there any sort of one size fits all things that someone who's listening could, after this podcast, go and assess their space and go, oh, okay, I can move this? Or, is there anything like that?
Absolutely. There's stacks that you can do, and I talk about that in my book a lot, like all of the things that you can do without having to need the help of a feng shui master. But just working with an expert just helps you take it to the next level. But let's talk about some of the main principles, and that is we want to attract positive energy to our spaces first. If you think about a house, because it's the easiest for people to kind of visualize, you want the front of your home to be as welcoming as possible, regardless of whether you live in a house or an apartment. So you don't want to have things like obstacles, clutter, broken things, overgrown trees blocking the path to your front door. So you want to be able to have a clear path to your front entrance, because that your front entrance is your gateway to wealth. It's the mouth of chi. So you want to be able to attract that positive wealth energy to your door. So having that free of obstacles and clutter is good. The front entrance is really important, and having a focal point at your front entrance to draw that positive energy in. So we don't want to have a mirror, because mirrors reflect energy and opportunities back out again. And mirrors are complicated from a feng shui perspective. So it's safer not to have a mirror directly opposite the door. If you have something like a beautiful artwork or a console table that's got some lovely accessories on it, like an orchid plant or something like that, it helps to draw that energy in. And then once we draw that energy in, we want to hold on to it. So we don't want it to escape too quickly. So a lot of people would have heard, oh, my front door faces my back door, or my front door faces my stairs. I've heard that that's not good in feng shui. So the reason is because if your front door is in direct alignment with your back door, then the energy escapes too quickly. And so from a feng shui point of view, the concept is it's like energy in, energy out. Your finances, you can't hold on to finances. So that's the symbolism around that. And so what you need to do there is to slow down the energy flow. So slow down that energy from escaping. You can do things like having a beautiful pendant at your front entrance to circulate the energy, having artwork along the walls, or certain pieces of furniture that don't block the energy flow but help the energy to go meander around the space rather than move too quickly in straight lines. So there are a couple of the sort of big ticket items. Things like if you've got the front door in direct alignment with the stairs, you can have something like if you can have a foyer area at front entrance, that is kind of gold standard. Nice to have a contained foyer. And you might be able to put things like a console table or artwork to just help you to create a moment when you enter your room where the energy settles and doesn't sort of rush around too quickly down the stairs and out the door.
This is awesome. It's interesting. The other day, my partner put some plants out the front of the house and on the footpath. And before he left to go away, I said, I just was walking on the footpath and I was like, are these going to stay here? Like, because the plants needed some light anyway.
Yeah.
And I said, would you mind, can we just move them off the footpath? And it was because he's like, is it because it's kind of in your walkway? I was like, yeah. And it was just blocking it a little bit, but it just felt restrictive. Like it was a feeling thing, not like they could have sat there. It doesn't really matter. But I just felt this like blockage, which is so interesting to see how we sometimes can pick up on these things naturally, but without having a greater understanding like you're offering.
Yes.
It's like we can't, include those.
Yeah.
Sorry, I dropped my AirPod.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, without linking it to the feng shui. But feng shui is one of those things that's becoming a lot more visible to people. It's the wellness industry is booming, and feng shui is very much aligned with that. People talk about biophilic design to do with plants, environmental design, and feng shui is very much aligned with those concepts. So it's something that is coming to the fore a lot more that I've found. And also the fact that feng shui is important to so many people in the community, and not just those with Asian ties or an Asian background. It's important to the majority of my clients are non-Asian, I've got to say, or not born overseas, and they just want to make sure that they're maximising the energy for them and their families.
Is there a way that we can also optimize the energy in an office that's kind of a little bit more standardized as well?
Yes. So if you think about an office, think about where the door is. The area that's diagonally opposite the door, think about the area that's diagonally opposite the door. If you've got your desk set up in that area, that's kind of the wealth zone of the energetic wealth zone of your office, because that is where the energy is most contained. So that's the place where you'll feel most supported and where the energy is most settled. So that's what I advise to clients. Sit with your back, if you've got the space, sit with your back towards a solid wall where you've got a view to nature, because that enhances your creativity. Now, if you can't look out the window and see some trees or see a bit of nature, and you're in a room that doesn't where you can't sort of see out, then have a plant if you can, because that then gives you that connection to nature for your creativity. So ideally, we want a solid wall behind us, because that creates a sense of protection and supports your authority. And being in that corner that's diagonally opposite the door gives you the view. Sort of, it's about your sort of outlook, business outlook.
Yeah. I feel like I've just in our conversation so far started to understand my inner thought process over the years of everything you're saying. I've naturally gravitated to doing those things in my office space as well. I've always loved looking outside, and I just thought it was because I liked looking outside. But
you do like looking outside because it's all based on that sort of the primal brain of wanting that connection to nature and needing that because it creates an element of calmness.
Yeah.
Helps you to feel calm. So that's why natural materials are so popular and people gravitate towards them. So using natural materials is another way that you can connect to nature and improve the energy in your space.
Amazing. And so tell me, what inspired you to write your book?
Well, I think more people just need to know about feng shui. So that was there's so many benefits to it. It's so misunderstood. There's so much junk out there online, and I wanted to put my take on feng shui out there to mainstream audiences in an accessible way that people can understand. There's a lot of feng shui text out there. I don't know that there's a huge amount that is out there that's written by women. So I think it's a different perspective. I've got a very practical perspective with my feng shui. So I've just seen a lot of stuff when I've worked with clients, like where clients have felt like, oh, they're doing something that is good from a feng shui perspective, but it's totally impractical and it frustrates them. And that's not living an abundant life. So I thought I'm going to write this book, which is all about creating an abundant home and hopefully change some lives. And I guess I mentioned to you before about that, the psychic spirit
Yeah.
medium. She said to me that I needed to write the book as well. And I guess that was a bit of a push to do it too. I never thought, at the start of my career that I would be writing a book.
Yeah.
But then as I progressed further through my career and met others who were doing the same thing or not doing the same thing that I do, but at the same stages of their business and seeing how they were getting traction with their messages, I thought, I think now's the time for me to do it as well. And it's been great. It's really opened a lot of doors for me.
Yeah. How did you find the process of writing the book? Was it easy? Did you find it difficult?
It was not easy. It was not easy. What helped me was I had a coach. So I worked with a book coach by the name of Kath Walters, who's based in Melbourne. She's an ex-journalist for Fin Review and BOW, and I had that connection. When I saw what she'd done previously, I thought, oh, that's so cool because from my accounting background, I just really resonated with her, and she had a system that helped me get the book done, and the accountability, of course, helped.
Yeah.
So
Was it?
it was
Yeah.
not easy. We had a little community of other authors, so we would do some writing every now and again, not every now and again, every day in the afternoon, where we'd set aside sort of an hour, and me and the other authors would have like a virtual co-working space and get the book done. And in addition to that, I also discovered this productivity tool called FocusMate. Have you heard of it?
I haven't. No, tell me.
Focusmate.com. It's one of the best things I ever discovered through my book writing process. And it's virtual co-working with somebody around the world. So there's I don't know, thousands of people that are registered to this thing, and you say that you want to book in a focus session for a certain time. They will find you somebody overseas or in Australia who wants to work at the same time. You look at yourself like we're doing here, like a video call. State our intention at the start of the session. Say, I'm working on 3 paragraphs of my book. They say what they're doing, and then you put yourselves on mute and you go off and work, and then you come back at the end and say, this is what I did. And it's just a really powerful way of getting stuff done and beating the procrastination.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I've never come across them before. And because you know how, there's all of these different tools, like the Pomodoro technique as well, and like different tools that you can use to assist in focus. But I like that. It's really unique. And interestingly, I find it not easier. Sometimes I like being in a space with someone else, even if we're not talking and I'm working. Like, I just feel like, well, I'm not procrastinating too much naturally, but I find that I'll just sit down and do my work. And it's just nice having that energy there of someone else. So I
It's
imagine it's
all,
something similar.
yes, absolutely. It's all about energy. It's all about energy, and being in a library, I mean, you know what it's like being in a library or being in an office space. You are way more likely to focus than you are in your own home when, there's the washing machine beeps and, you've got a sock drawer that you can organise and all that sort of thing. So it's a way of doing it when you're at home. And yeah, I encourage listeners to check it out because it's really good. And I don't get paid for this either.
Well, we'll put that in the show notes as well. So anyone who's interested can check it out for sure as well. And so your specialty is very much about helping commercial developers and also homeowners to create space in their homes. Was that always the intention when you started your business, or did that sort of organically come out to play?
That that just came out as a bit of a progression. So I started working with homeowners, then I started moving to businesses. I started moving to businesses with looking to appeal to the Asian demographic. So I would be working with investment bankers, big businesses who have Chinese clients, things like that. and even casinos and clubs that have that where they're looking to attract Asian customers. So I would be doing a lot of that sort of work, and then that just progressed to developments because there's I guess there's the perception out there that Asian buyers have deep pockets, and you want to make sure that your property is appealing to everyone and not just limited and not scaring people away. Because what I would find in my own work was that I would get real estate agents calling me and saying, hey Jane, we're trying to sell this property that these guys built, and we're having pushback because there's these feng shui's coming up, like what can you do? And it's kind of a bit hard to change the orientation of a staircase or to move the front door after a place has already been built. So that's where I started having these conversations with developers, and that let's get it right to start with, because that's where and what we were finding as well is that people just won't show up to the open house if they take a look at the floor plan and they see big feng shui issues.
I find that so fascinating as well, like that. I guess there are people that have an awareness about that, but do you think even subconsciously that happens with certain homes and stuff where there's an open house, but maybe they're having trouble bringing people into it? Do you think naturally people are sensing that at all?
There are issues. There are all sorts of issues.
Hmm.
There are even people even have problems with spirits in their homes.
Yeah.
And I work with the Ghostbuster, which sounds crazy, which will
Yeah.
freak out all of your listeners, but it does happen. And especially if there's been history of some sort of violent crime happening, or people have died in a place, or there's like the divorce house where everybody who's lived in the place has ended up in divorce or bankrupt. You hear of stuff like that. That's where you need the feng shui treatment.
Is that something that you need a specialist for, or are there things that you can do yourself if someone? Yeah.
There are things that you can do yourself, but when you're starting to get into that whole spirit energy, it's best to get somebody in. So I worked with some clients who had a commercial property where somebody died on site and they were worried about it.
Yeah.
And so they called me, and I worked with the spirit medium to clear that energy. And it was all just so new to everybody that was there. We had the property developer kind of walking behind us, and the finance guys, like they were just really curious as to what was going to happen during this spirit clearing. It was
So interesting. And just I feel like I feel those things when I walk into spaces, and even when I go for walks past homes. I'm in Melbourne at the moment, but when I walk past certain homes on the street, I just get these certain vibes, and I always wonder, like, why do I feel that way? And I'm obviously picking up on something, but it's like,
yes.
I can tell it's things have happened in that place, and I wouldn't know what, but it's just a feeling.
Yeah, so you're really attuned to that. Some people are very attuned to it. I've got clients who can tell me whether they've had spirit paranormal activity in their home, and then others that can't sense it at all. And sometimes it manifests in smells that will not leave the place as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I had that in my own home, where there was this musty smell that wouldn't go, and I thought, it's the carpet or it's the curtains, and I'll be cleaning it, and this smell would never leave. And then I spoke to my spirit medium friend, and she, over the phone, she picked it up and she said, you've got a spirit in your home. We need to come over and clear it. So she came over and she cleared it, and she said it was the spirit of the previous occupant who had actually died in that room and was wondering where his wife was because she moved out into a retirement home.
Oh.
Yeah, and so she sent him off to the light.
Yeah.
And then we went off to lunch, and she said to me, do you notice anything different? Can you feel like the energy's lighter? And I couldn't at the time. No, can't tell. Anyway, we went off to lunch, came back, and then when I walked in the room, the smell had completely gone.
Wow.
Brought my husband in after he came back home from work, and I said, what do you notice different about here? And he said, the smell's gone. It was just amazing that and then I discovered that spirits can manifest in smells that will not leave.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure our listeners are probably thinking, oh my goodness, like they're either relating or they're like, I wonder if I sense this or not. Like on all levels, that side of things, but also the feng shui side of things as well. I'm sure everyone will probably be listening, going, oh, I wonder how my space is affecting my day to day.
Yeah, and so because it can affect, actually we spoke about problems with in the home. It can affect when people are building or renovating. It can affect how whether there's legal issues, whether there's problems on site, like all sorts of things can go wrong when you've got problematic spirit energy in a property. So
Yeah,
it's best to get that
fascinating.
cleared.
Yeah. And like you're saying, like we sort of, most people have an awareness that our environment and our space affects our, you know, general outlook and well-being and things like that. When we're talking about feng shui, is it sometimes that we can have certain, I guess, thought patterns or problems or emotions and things coming up due to how we've set up our space as well?
Yes. So it's like a bit of a circular, it's like a bit of a circular thing where the space affects you and you impact the space. So if you think about a heavily cluttered environment, the clutter is going to drag you down. It's going to
Yeah.
block opportunities from coming to you. It leaves no space for new experiences and new opportunities to come into your life. So, and once you clear that clutter, you get that clarity and you feel that like you can focus more. But if you haven't sort of cleared some patterns in your head, then that clutter can build up again, and then you can go through that same sort of pattern. And so I'm all about living the feng shui lifestyle, which is more than just optimal physical arrangement, but it's managing the energy, managing your personal energy, managing the energy that comes into you through media, through the food you eat, through the movement that you do with your body, all the people you hang around, all those sorts of things. So I like to look at it as a holistic sort of thing where I think living the feng shui lifestyle is the most powerful way to live.
Beautiful. And it is also interconnected, you know, like everything is energy. So it makes sense that the way we interact with all elements and parts of our lives and the world uh, do, you know, come together to create our experience of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our interview is coming to a close. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would love our listeners to know about?
I think the bedroom is one of the most important spaces in a home. And so think about creating a peaceful environment in your room. A lot of people are attached to their mobiles and use it, they're conjoined twins. Let's not have the mobile under our pillow when we sleep. Try and charge it outside the room if you can. Know what's on the other side of your bedhead wall. Some people have their meter box on the bedhead wall, which can elevate the electromagnetic fields. And so moving the bed away from that can make a big difference to your quality of sleep and your health.
Okay.
And so with I mentioned with the location of the study desk to have that in that area diagonally opposite the door. The same goes for the bed. So have it against a solid wall in the area that's
Mhm.
diagonally opposite the door, and create that peaceful sort of space. And
Mhm.
of course, if you're thinking about how you can optimize the energy in your home, get some good advice. Don't believe everything you hear and see on the internet. I see I see rubbish about tie a red ribbon around your pipe in your bathroom for your wealth. I mean,
Mhm.
the state of your wealth is nothing to do with what's going on in the pipe under your bathroom sink. So let's bring a bit of practicality to feng shui, and I think that's the way
Mhm.
it can be most powerful and useful to people.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing those. I know the phone thing, I will have to say I'm one of those people, and not because I can't get, like, I'm okay to be away from my phone. It's purely because of my alarm and because I play music on it. And
Yeah.
recently I've been thinking a lot about it. I'm like, I'm sure I shouldn't have my phone. I mean, I know I just energetically feel I shouldn't have my phone next to me, but for those two reasons, it's like that's why it's always so close to me.
At the very least, if you can,
Yeah.
if you're listening to music, if you can download it and play it offline, and then
Oh,
put your
okay.
phone on
Yeah.
airplane mode, at least that's helpful to stop some of the zapping. Doesn't stop all of the zapping, but it's
Yeah.
helpful. So at least do that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and the
I will
further
try.
away the further away it is from you,
Yeah.
the better. So proximity really matters. Whether it's,
Yeah.
2 inches or 20 inches, that makes a difference. So
Okay.
proximity is another.
Yeah, because after reading your download the PDF last night, the top 10 tips, I noticed I've got like a crystal above my bed, but I also have the remote from the air conditioning, and I thought I wonder if that impacts it as well. Would something like that just it again, it's for ease if I wanted to switch it on
Yeah.
in the night, but is something as simple like as a remote, does that also affect the
Well, I
energy?
guess there's some sort of frequency there, right? So that you can
Yeah.
just pick it up and then press to turn the fan on. But if you think about how often you need the fan, maybe you don't need it all the time. That there are certain seasons where you do and certain seasons where you just don't need it.
Yeah.
So switch it off at the power point, so you don't need to use
Yeah.
it.
True. Okay, I'm going to try give myself a little practice of moving my phone further away. I know, sometimes when you've had like a habit for a long time, it might
Yeah,
not happen immediately. So I'm
yeah.
just going to, space it out. Maybe I can move it further away from me each night.
Baby steps.
Yeah,
All,
exactly.
all
And
it means is that you just need to get up and do a bit of a sit up to pick up your phone.
that's only a
It's
good
good for
thing.
you. That's right. Only good can come
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah, awesome. For our listeners, I will include all of the links to Jane's book and her website and also
Instagram as well. So I'm very active on Instagram and I share a lot of tips on there too
okay,
for
amazing.
people.
So all of
And
that will be in the
LinkedIn.
show notes. And LinkedIn. Yes, I'm a huge LinkedIn fan. So please, everyone, do reach out to Jane if you like any of the things that we've discussed. You've got spirits, or you would like to improve the energy on your home space or office space or workspace. She is a lady true to her word. So before we wrap up our chat, I've got the Leaders Lane sprint for you. 4 quick
Okay.
fire questions.
All right.
Are you, are
Let's
you
go.
ready?
Yep.
Okay. What's one of the best experiences you've had in life?
It was winning an award, which was the Small Business Champion Award last year. That was the best. I was just really stoked to be able to put feng shui out there to a massive audience and just get exposure, because that led then it led to an interview on the Today Show, which was fabulous, where you can actually see a walkthrough of my home.
I did watch that one too. Beautiful home. And
Thank you.
yeah, it was great to watch. So everyone check that out. Okay, my next question for you is who or what brings out your best?
Probably my clients bring out my best, because I need to be operating at my highest level to be able to serve as best I can. So I would say it's my clients. It's also my family too. They help to keep me grounded and keep me in check.
Awesome. What's one thing that you'd like to do before you die?
There's so many, but one in the immediate closer future, I guess, is to do a TEDx talk. I'd love to do that.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be super interesting. I'd love to listen in to that one.
Yeah. I'll let you know. You can
Okay,
come in.
sounds good. Okay, and my last question for you is what did you enjoy most about this conversation?
I enjoyed connecting with you, and I actually enjoyed the research leading up to this podcast. And my research was that this morning I listened to a couple of your episodes,
How
and
did you?
I learned some great things from your guests, and it made me think I need to listen to more of your episodes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Thank you for sharing that and for listening. I appreciate people taking time to listen because, there are so many podcasts out there, but also because everyone's time is so limited. So I really do strive to make sure that each episode is interesting and that, it can support people on their life journey and business journey. And I'm sure our conversation will do the same.
Well, the other thing is that when I listen to Australian women doing podcasts, I think, why haven't I started mine yet? Because that's something that I want to do in the future as well, and it's inspiration to me as well. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, awesome. Well, if you would like if you have any questions when you start yours, I think yours would be super fascinating. I'm like, oh, you could do this and this.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I
It's all
think it'd
gonna
be
it's all
great.
gonna be about living an abundant life and living the feng shui lifestyle and bringing in different people who help you to achieve that.
Yeah, amazing. Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been such a pleasure. I'm so glad we connected and I found you on LinkedIn and we got to have this chat.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you. Thanks so much, Monica.
All right, take care.